Brandon Hale pushed open the door of the Upper West Side penthouse, the soft morning light spilling into the living room as Manhattan's skyline glimmered behind him. His suit jacket was wrinkled, his tie loose, and the faint scent of Sloane Whitmore's perfume still clung to his collar, sharp, floral, impossible to hide. He glanced at his Rolex, 5:17 a.m. Another night, working late. Another lie he told too easily. But something felt wrong. The apartment was too quiet. Usually, at this hour, Emily would be sitting on the couch with their newborn son against her chest, rocking him gently, humming the same lullaby she learned from her grandmother in Arizona. Brandon always complained the melody was too sad, but secretly, it was the only sound that ever made their home feel alive. Tonight, nothing. No humming, no soft breathing, no tiny cries. Brandon frowned, stepping deeper into the living room. The crib that normally sat by the window, gone. The shelves that once held folded baby blankets, empty. Even the faint smell of baby lotion that always lingered in the air had disappeared, as if scrubbed away. "Emily?" Brandon called, voice cracking slightly. No answer. He moved toward the kitchen, irritation rising, rehearsing excuses for why he hadn't come home, preparing to blame Emily for being too sensitive, the same way he always did. But then he saw it. On the marble kitchen island lay a single USB drive beside his house keys. Beside it, a folded sheet of paper. His chest tightened. He opened the note with trembling fingers. "Brandon, by the time you read this, we are gone. I know everything. Every lie. Every night away. You won't find us. My lawyer will contact you. Emily." His heart dropped. Gone? Where could she go? She had no money, no family close by, no home other than this one, a home he made sure was only in his name. He stumbled backward, knocking over a bottle. A cold realization washed over him. Emily hadn't left in desperation. She had left with a plan. And then from the corner of the room he noticed the security camera's tiny red light blinking. Slow, steady, recording. A sinking dread twisted in his gut as he whispered, "What did you do, Emily?" And then he saw what was on the USB. A year before Emily Carter vanished with her newborn, she arrived in New York City with a heart full of hope and a suitcase that still smelled like desert air from Arizona. She had married Brandon Hale only 3 months earlier, an ambitious, sharply dressed financial executive who seemed to know exactly where he was going in life. He held doors open, left flowers on her nightstand, and told her he admired her strength as an ER nurse. Back then, she believed him. Everyone did. Their new penthouse in the Upper West Side felt like a dream she hadn't earned. Floor-to-ceiling windows looked out over Central Park, sunlight spilling over polished oak floors. Brandon had walked her through each room like a proud real estate agent, saying, "This is our fresh start, Em." But she hadn't noticed, because she wasn't looking, that every document he signed carried only his name. At first, life felt ordinary and warm. Emily worked, demanding ER shifts, came home to Brandon cooking pasta while scrolling through emails on his MacBook Pro. He'd kiss her forehead, murmur that she worked too hard, and joke she should let him take care of her forever. She laughed back then. She didn't see the seed of control hidden inside the compliment. The first crack appeared when she missed a dinner party because of a last-minute emergency surgery at the hospital. Brandon's smile fell the second she walked in the door. "You made me look unreliable," he said quietly, almost too calm. Emily apologized. She had been saving someone's life, but the explanation seemed to irritate him more. That night, he slept on the couch. Still, she convinced herself it was stress. He was trying to secure a promotion at the biotech firm. Late-night meetings. High-pressure presentations. Endless networking. She didn't want to be the reason he failed. Months later, when she found out she was pregnant, she ran to him with the test still in hand, laughing and crying. Brandon hugged her, but his smile didn't reach his eyes. "We'll make it work," he said, as if the pregnancy were an obstacle, not a blessing. And yet, for a time, he tried. He attended doctor visits, made smoothies every morning, even bought a tiny pair of navy blue baby socks that Emily kept on her nightstand. But as her belly grew, Brandon grew distant, colder, busier. He began working late, 3, 4, sometimes 5 times a week. Emily would sit at home, rubbing her belly, listening to the echo of her own breathing in the oversized apartment. Her phone would light up with a text. "Don't wait up. Big day tomorrow. She pretended not to notice the smell of perfume clinging to his suit when he came home past midnight. She pretended not to notice when he avoided touching her, avoided touching the growing baby kicks, avoided every conversation that mattered. She told herself marriages had seasons, ups and downs. What she didn't know, what she couldn't know, was that Brandon's betrayal had already begun long before the baby arrived, and the woman responsible was about to step directly into Emily's life. The night Emily first saw Sloane Whitmore, New York City glittered with the kind of winter cold that made the sidewalks shimmer like broken glass. Brandon had insisted they attend a networking gala at the Langham on Fifth Avenue. "It's good for my career," he'd said, adjusting his cufflinks without looking at her. Emily, 6 months pregnant, wore a simple midnight blue dress, her hair pulled back, her face pale from another sleepless night of back pain. They arrived together, but the moment they stepped into the ballroom, Brandon drifted away, swallowed by a crowd of executives in tailored suits. Emily stood near a table of champagne flutes, fingers resting protectively on her belly. She didn't belong there. Everyone could see it, the exhausted wife of a rising star, dressed more simply than the woman at any table. Then she saw her. Sloane Whitmore moved through the room like she owned it. Tall, sleek, blonde hair curling around her shoulders, a fitted black dress shimmering under the chandelier. She had an effortless confidence, the kind that came from knowing the world bent for her. Brandon's face lit up when he spotted her. Emily watched him straighten his posture, adjust his tie gestures he had stopped doing for her months ago. He walked toward Sloane with an excitement he didn't try to hide. Sloane turned, smiled, like she'd been waiting just for him. The two leaned in close, too close. She whispered something that made Brandon laugh quietly, a sound Emily hadn't heard from him in weeks. Emily's stomach tightened. Trying to ignore the scene, she walked toward the dessert table, but halfway there, her foot slipped. A sharp pain shot up her spine, and she grabbed the nearest chair to steady herself. Her water glass trembled in her hand. That's when Sloane noticed her. Her eyes scanned Emily slowly, judgmentally, from her tired hair to her swollen belly, to the sensible shoes Emily had worn because her ankles had started swelling. Sloane's smile curled slightly, amused. She whispered into Brandon's ear again. He didn't come to check on Emily. Instead, he placed a hand on Sloane's lower back, light, familiar, intimate. Emily's breath caught. She stared, unable to process what she was seeing. Maybe it was innocent, maybe it was nothing. But something inside her twisted. Then it happened. A photographer snapped a picture. Brandon and Sloane, standing close, too close, their bodies angled toward each other like a couple accustomed to sharing secrets. Brandon didn't flinch. Sloane leaned in, her lips nearly brushing his ear. Emily froze. In that moment, a voice inside her whispered something she had never dared think. He's already chosen her. Emily left the ballroom without saying goodbye. She stepped into the freezing night air, one hand on her belly, the other gripping the railing outside the hotel. She didn't know it yet, but this single night would become the first piece of evidence on the USB that would destroy Brandon's life. In the weeks following the gala at the Langham, something shifted inside Emily Carter quietly, painfully, like a hairline fractured deep beneath the surface. Nothing dramatic happened at first. No screaming matches, no slammed doors. Just a growing stillness inside their penthouse, the kind that settles over a home when two people stop moving toward each other. Brandon came home later and later. He always smelled faintly of something floral, something expensive, something not hers. When Emily asked casually who he'd been meeting, he would sigh, pinching the bridge of his nose like she were an inconvenience. "Emily, I'm building a future for us. Stop reading into everything." But even his excuses had lost their warmth. One night, Emily attempted to rekindle a piece of their old life. She made his favorite dinner, roasted chicken with thyme, garlic mashed potatoes, fresh bread still warm from the oven. It was the first time in weeks she'd cooked. Despite her swollen ankles and aching back, she set the table carefully, even lit candles, hoping the smell of home-cooked food would soften something in him. Brandon walked in at 10:47 p.m. He didn't look at the table. He didn't kiss her. He didn't ask about the baby kicking earlier that afternoon. He tossed his keys onto the counter, opened the fridge, and grabbed a bottle of sparkling water. "You cooked?" he asked, almost annoyed. Emily forced a small smile. "Yeah, I thought it might be nice too. I already ate," he cut in. Then, as if the universe wanted to confirm her fears, His phone buzzed, and his entire expression changed. His eyes softened, his lips twitched into a private smirk. He turned away slightly as he typed back a message with the kind of quick, eager energy Emily hadn't seen directed at her in months. She didn't have to ask who it was. She knew. Sloane Whitmore. That name had been echoing inside her mind ever since the gala. She had tried to convince herself that she was overthinking, that pregnancy hormones could twist reality. But the way Brandon's eyes lit up at that message, it shattered the last piece of denial she'd been clinging to. Later that night, Emily stood alone in the bathroom, staring at her reflection. Her face looked different, hollow, older, tired in a way makeup couldn't fix. She rested her hands on the edge of the sink, whispering to herself, "Please don't let this be real." But deep down, she already knew. Things got worse the next morning. Emily found a receipt in the laundry pocket of Brandon's suit, a dinner for two at an upscale restaurant overlooking the river, dated the same night he told her he was working late on budget revisions. The bill was nearly $480, and the signature at the bottom wasn't his usual rushed scribble. It was careful, deliberate, as if he'd wanted it remembered. A tremor went through Emily's hands. For the first time, she wasn't just hurt. She was afraid. Because now, the cracks in their marriage weren't merely emotional, they were leading somewhere. Somewhere dangerous. The night everything tipped over began quietly, with snow drifting against the windows of the penthouse and the distant hum of traffic from Columbus Avenue. Emily Carter sat on the couch, wrapped in a soft gray blanket, one hand resting on her swollen belly. She was 8 months pregnant now, and every movement felt heavier, slower, as if the weight of her child mirrored the weight settling on her heart. Brandon had promised he would be home early tonight. "It's our last quiet weekend before the baby comes," he had said that morning, kissing her cheek absent-mindedly before rushing out the door. Emily clung to that sentence all day. She wanted to believe him, needed to believe him. She had even baked the lemon cake he loved, despite the back pain. The apartment smelled sweet and warm for the first time in months. But at 6 p.m., her phone buzzed. A text from Brandon. "Running late. Don't wait up." Her chest tightened. She tried to steady her breathing, but disappointment wrapped around her like a cold blanket. She typed a response, then deleted it. Typed again, deleted. What was the point? He would say she was too emotional, too sensitive, overreacting. End quote. Still, she left the lights on, hoping he might change his mind. By midnight, the cake had gone cold. By 1 a.m., Emily's eyes stung with exhaustion. By 2 a.m., she could no longer keep herself upright. She shuffled to the bedroom, changed into her old cotton pajamas, and crawled into bed alone. At 3:12 a.m., a sharp cramp jolted her awake. Her breath hitched. The cramp intensified, radiating up her spine. Sweat beaded across her forehead. She grabbed her phone and called Brandon. 1 ring, 2 rings, 3. It went to voicemail. She tried again. And again. No answer. Her hands trembled. She needed him. This wasn't normal. The pain was coming too fast, too hard. She dialed 911 with shaking fingers. Moments later, EMTs wheeled her through the lobby as snowflakes drifted into the ambulance. Her vision blurred. She kept asking for her husband. "He's on the way, right? He should be coming. He promised he'd be home early." "Thanks for watching." The EMT exchanged a quiet look with his partner, but said nothing. Emily was still calling Brandon when they arrived at the hospital, tears slipping down her cheeks. Born in the early hours of dawn, her son came into the world small and needing oxygen. Doctors worked around him quickly, gently, reassuringly. Emily kept whispering that his father was coming. But Brandon didn't show up until hours later, hair disheveled, tie missing, shirt wrinkled. He smelled faintly of perfume, the same one Emily had noticed weeks before. And the first words out of his mouth weren't, "Are you okay?" or, "How's the baby?" They were, "Why didn't you wait? You scared me, Emily. You always overreact." Something inside her broke. The first weeks after the premature birth felt like a fog Emily Carter couldn't escape. Every sound in the neonatal unit echoed inside her machines, beeping, nurses whispering, the soft hiss of oxygen flowing into her newborn son's tiny lungs. She sat beside the incubator for hours each day, her hand pressed gently against the glass, whispering promises she hoped she could keep. Brandon rarely visited. He always had a reason, A presentation, a late meeting, a client dinner that absolutely couldn't be moved. When he did appear, it was only for a few minutes, standing stiffly at the foot of the crib, scrolling his phone while Emily rocked their fragile son in her arms. He'd kiss the top of her head distractedly and murmur, "You've got this," before disappearing again. It wasn't comfort. It was dismissal. Some nights, Emily stayed at the hospital so long she forgot what time it was. The nurses, kind, protective, brought her warm tea, blankets, gentle reminders to rest. They noticed things she tried to hide. "You're not alone, honey," one of them said softly. "You don't have to carry all of this by yourself." But she did. Brandon wasn't carrying anything. When the baby was finally strong enough to go home, Emily thought things might get better. She imagined Brandon holding their son with pride, imagined quiet evenings together learning how to be a family. Reality was colder. Brandon worked even later. He shut himself in his office, emerging only to complain about noise or ask why dinner wasn't ready. He refused to help with night feedings, claiming he needed sleep for work. Emily, running on 2 hours of rest a day, felt her world shrinking to a single loop. Feed the baby, soothe the baby, keep the baby alive. Her hands shook constantly, her chest felt tight. Every small cry sent panic spiraling through her. Postpartum depression crept in like a shadow, silent, suffocating. She tried to tell Brandon once, late at night. "I think something's wrong with me," she whispered. He didn't look up from his laptop. "You're just tired, Emily. Don't be dramatic." Dramatic? She carried that word like a stone inside her chest. One evening, during a feeding, Emily's vision blurred from exhaustion. She leaned against the wall, sliding slowly to the floor, clutching her son protectively. Tears slipped down her cheeks. She felt invisible, like a ghost inside her own home. That same night, while pacing the hallway to soothe the baby, she passed Brandon's office and froze. His voice, soft, warm, intimate, drifted through the half-closed door. "Sloan." Emily didn't catch the words. She didn't need to. The tone told the entire story. Her knees weakened. She turned away, holding her baby tighter, whispering, "I'm so sorry, sweetheart. You deserve better." It was the first time she allowed herself to imagine a future without Brandon. A future where she didn't have to fight alone. And somewhere deep inside, the idea of leaving began to take root. The night Emily Carter finally saw the truth didn't arrive with thunder or shouting. It came quietly, like betrayal often does, slipping into her life while she was doing something as ordinary as folding tiny onesies in the nursery. Her son had just fallen asleep, the soft rise and fall of his breathing, a fragile comfort in the dimly lit room. Emily tiptoed out, feeling a rare sense of calm. She hadn't slept more than 3 hours straight in weeks, but there was something grounding about holding her baby, feeling his small fingers curl around hers. She walked into the living room to grab her phone from the couch. That's when she saw it. Brandon's laptop was open. He never left it open. He guarded that thing like it contained nuclear codes. The screen was still glowing, the cursor blinking on a message thread. Maybe he'd stepped into the shower. Maybe he'd gone to take a call. Emily hesitated. She wasn't the kind of woman who snooped, but the air felt different. Heavy. Waiting. Her fingers trembled as she stepped closer. A single notification flashed at the top corner of the screen. New message from Sloan Whitmore. Emily froze. Her heartbeat thudded painfully against her ribs as she touched the trackpad. The message thread expanded. At first, she didn't understand what she was looking at, then the meaning hit her like a punch to the chest. There were pictures. Dozens of them. Photos from gala nights, dim hotel lounges, blurred reflections in car windows. Pictures of Brandon with his hand on Sloane's waist, his jacket draped over her shoulders, his lips brushing her hair. Timestamps, dating back to months before Emily gave birth. Even one from the night Emily had gone into labor alone. Her stomach twisted violently. But that wasn't the worst part. Further down the thread, she found documents. Drafts, contracts. A scanned file titled, Revised Prenuptial Addendum, E. Carter. Emily opened it with shaking hands. It was the paperwork Brandon had pressured her to sign when she was 7 months pregnant, claiming it was just a tax update. But this version showed the truth. It stripped her of all marital property. It removed her rights to their home. It limited her claim to spousal support. And it declared Brandon sole financial guardian of their future child. Her breath caught. He had planned everything. prepared for her absence, prepared to replace her. Her vision blurred. She gripped the back of the couch to stay upright, a scream trapped somewhere deep in her chest. Suddenly, a soft sound made her spin around. Her baby cried in the nursery. The innocent, fragile cry snapped something inside her, not in rage, but in clarity. Emily wiped her tears, her jaw tightening with resolve. For the first time, she whispered a new promise to herself and to her son. "We're leaving. I swear to you, we're leaving." What she didn't know was that someone had seen her discovery. Someone who would soon become her most unlikely ally. Emily Carter barely slept the night she discovered Brandon's betrayal. Every time she closed her eyes, the images from his laptop flashed behind her eyelids, the photos, the messages, the legal documents, quietly stealing her future. She lay awake beside her baby, feeling the apartment grow colder around her. By morning, something inside her had hardened. She needed a plan. She needed help. But who could she trust? While pushing her son's stroller through the hospital hallway for his checkup appointment, Emily passed Dr. Olivia Mercer, the seasoned ER chief who'd always shown her unexpected kindness. Olivia paused, noticing the exhaustion etched onto Emily's face. "You look like the world is sitting on your shoulders," Olivia said gently. Emily forced a smile. "It's just motherhood." Olivia didn't buy it. "Come by my office after the appointment. No pressure." Emily nodded, though she wasn't sure she would. Telling anyone what she'd seen felt like standing on the edge of a cliff. After the pediatric checkup, Emily headed toward the elevators, but a man she didn't recognize stepped into her path. Tall, dark hair lightly graying, a suit slightly too casual for a lawyer, but eyes sharp enough to read a room in seconds. "Emily Carter?" he asked, softly. Her pulse spiked. "Do I know you?" He held up a folder, not threatening, but formal. "My name is Adam Reeves. I don't expect you to remember me, but you saved my life last year. Car accident. You were the nurse who kept me awake when my breathing collapsed." Emily blinked, trying to recall. A blurry memory surfaced, blood, shattered glass, a frantic night in the ER. She remembered pressing her hand against a stranger's chest, begging him to stay alive. "You told me to fight," Adam said. "So I did." Her throat tightened. "I'm glad you're okay, but why are you?" Adam lowered his voice. "I saw your husband 2 days after my discharge. He was arguing with a woman in the lobby. Blonde, expensive coat. He was saying things about ensuring you didn't get anything. I didn't think much of it then, but when I heard your name today, I recognized it." Emily's grip tightened on the stroller. Adam continued, "I'm a pro bono attorney now. I help people who have no one in their corner. When I saw you walk past earlier, something looked wrong, so I took a chance." Emily felt her knees weaken. This was too much, too fast. He held out a business card. "If you're in trouble, any kind of trouble, I'll help you. No cost, no conditions. You saved my life, Emily. Let me repay that." She stared at the card. Adam Reeves. Family and protective law. A tremor ran through her. The universe had shown her something. She wasn't alone. "Can we talk? Somewhere private?" Emily whispered. Adam nodded, guiding her toward a quiet consultation room. As the door closed behind them, Emily finally let herself speak the words she had been swallowing for months. "I need to leave my husband. And I need to do it without him ever seeing it coming." For a long moment, after the consultation room door clicked shut, Emily Carter simply breathed, slow, trembling, as if every breath might undo the fragile courage holding her together. Across from her, Adam Reeves waited calm, steady, the kind of presence she'd forgotten existed in her world. "Start wherever you can," he said gently. Emily opened her mouth, but no words came. Instead, tears filled her eyes, not dramatic sobs, just a quiet overflow, like water slipping through cracks she'd tried to seal for too long. She wiped them quickly, embarrassed. Adam's voice softened. "You're safe here. Take your time." So she did. Piece by piece, Emily laid out the truth. The late nights, the perfume, the photos, the messages, the legal documents meant to erase her. Adam didn't interrupt. He listened with an intensity that made her feel seen, truly seen for the first time in months. When she finished, he exhaled slowly. "Emily, your husband has been planning to take everything, including your son." The room tilted slightly. She gripped the table. "But," Adam continued firmly, "he hasn't succeeded yet. And if you act strategically, not emotionally, you can win this. She swallowed hard. How? Adam leaned forward, pulling a notepad from his folder. First, you need copies of every document you found. Screenshots, scans, anything that proves intent. Second, don't confront him. Not even subtly. He must believe nothing has changed. Emily nodded, fear twisting inside her. Third, Adam said, tapping his pen. You'll need a safe place to go when the time comes. Somewhere he can't track you. He's the kind of man who will look. That's the part I don't have, she whispered. Adam hesitated, then offered something unexpected. I have a friend, Evelyn Monroe. She runs a private foundation that often helps women rebuild after leaving abusive situations. I think she'd help you, especially with a child involved. Emily stared. But I don't even know her. You don't need to, Adam said. I'll arrange it. The weight on her chest eased, just a little. He continued outlining steps. Open a separate bank account. Move small amounts of cash slowly. Store important documents in a location Brandon couldn't access. Prepare a go bag for the baby. Keep a digital trail of Brandon's neglect and emotional abuse. Every instruction felt like a lifeline. But then, Adam said something that chilled her. And Emily, you can't fail. If Brandon realizes what you're doing, he will try to take custody. Men like him don't lose gracefully. A tremor ran through her. I'm scared, she whispered. I know, he replied. But you're stronger than you think. You survived childbirth alone. You've cared for your son without help. This, he tapped the notes, this is just the next step. Emily looked down at her sleeping baby in the stroller. His tiny fingers curled, peaceful, unaware of the storm around him. I'll do it, she said finally. For him? Adam nodded, a shadow of relief crossing his face. Then he added something that unsettled Emily, though she couldn't yet understand why. Brandon won't see this coming, but someone else might. If he won tense. Before she could ask what he meant, a soft knock interrupted them. A nurse peeked in. Emily, someone's here to see you. Emily frowned. Who? The nurse hesitated. She said her name is Sloane. For a second, Emily thought she'd misheard the nurse. But the name echoed in the narrow hospital hallway like a warning bell. Sloane. Here. Adam straightened, his expression sharpening instantly. Don't react, he whispered. She can smell fear. Is Noel fresh? Emily's heart pounded against her ribs as Sloane Whitmore stepped into the doorway, poised, polished, wrapped in a beige designer coat that looked more like armor than clothing. Her blonde hair was perfectly curled, her lips painted the soft red of a woman who had slept well and lived comfortably. The opposite of Emily. Emily Carter, Sloane said, smiling with the kind of sweetness that always hides venom. I hope this isn't a bad time. If demands. Emily instinctively shifted the stroller closer to her, shielding her baby. Adam moved between them. This is a private consult. You're not allowed in here. Sloane barely acknowledged him. Her eyes stayed locked on Emily, studying, assessing, cataloging every weakness. Relax, she said coolly. I'm not here to cause trouble. That's all you ever cause, Emily said quietly. Sloane's smile twitched but didn't break. I'm here because Brandon is worried. You didn't answer his calls. Enter 7. Calls? Emily checked her phone. 12 missed calls from Brandon. Hours ago. Of course, he hadn't called to apologize or ask how their son was doing. He called because he sensed a shift. Predators always know when prey changes direction. Sloane stepped further into the room. Brandon asked me to talk to you, woman to woman. We're all adults here. We can be civil. Adam scoffed. You should leave before security escorts you. But Emily lifted a trembling hand. It's fine. It's the mendit. Adam shot her a warning look, but stepped back, staying close. Sloane folded her arms, her voice dropping into a tone meant only for Emily. You're overwhelmed. Anyone can see that. Brandon thinks maybe you just need space, time, a break from responsibility. Emily blinked. A break from my own child? Sloane shrugged. Motherhood isn't for everyone. Something inside Emily snapped, not loudly, but unmistakably. A kind of icy clarity washed over her. She had spent months believing she was weak, fragile, losing her grip. But now, watching Sloane deliver rehearsed lines Brandon had probably fed her, Emily felt something else entirely. Anger. Strength. Focus. What exactly is Brandon planning? Emily asked. Sloane hesitated, just a flicker, but Emily saw it. Brandon wants what's best for the baby, she said carefully. He's concerned about your stability. Komskrafter D, Brandon Sals, and Undater. Brandon Sals, Dairy 200, Brandon Sals, Dairy 2, Dayhenden, Dairy 2 Sals, Dairy 2, Dairy 200, and Esavode. The words sliced through Emily like glass. Adam stepped in sharply. We're done here. Sloane turned to leave, but before she crossed the threshold, she glanced back, her voice soft but cutting. You should think about what's best for your son. Brandon is capable. He doesn't like to lose. Then she walked out. When the door closed, Emily exhaled shakily, gripping the stroller until her knuckles turned white. This changes everything, Adam said quietly. Emily nodded. Because Sloane didn't come to intimidate her. She came because Brandon already suspected Emily was planning to run. And now Emily knew one terrifying truth. If she didn't leave soon, she might lose her baby forever. The moment Sloane's heels clicked away down the hallway, Adam closed the door and turned to Emily with urgency carved across his features. You can't wait any longer, he said. Brandon sent her to test you. If she reports back that you're scared or rattled, he'll move faster. Thanks for watching. Emily's fingers tightened around the stroller handle. The baby stirred softly, unaware of the storm tightening around them. So what do I do? She whispered. Adam grabbed his notepad again, but this time his voice dropped into something sharper, strategic, calculating. We build your escape, but we do it in pieces so small, Brandon won't feel them happening. He drew 3 circles on the page. Circle 1. Documentation. Circle 2. Resources. Circle 3. Disappearance. Emily stared at the circles as if they were magic runes, small shapes holding her future. First, Adam said, tapping circle 1, you'll continue gathering evidence. Everything he's done: neglect, infidelity, coercion, screenshots, photos, receipts, recordings, if you can get them safely. Emily nodded. I already have some, but not enough. Good. Build a file so thorough, no judge could ignore it. He moved to circle 2. Next, resources. Money, support, shelter. Devna. I don't have any, she admitted, shame washing over her. You will, Adam said. I'll connect you with Evelyn Monroe. She has private shelters, secure apartments, and relocation networks. Everything for women escaping dangerous marriages. Dangerous? Emily whispered. Adam met her gaze. Emily, a man who prepares legal documents to strip you of rights before the baby is born, is dangerous. A man who sends his mistress to intimidate you is dangerous. You need to name the threat to survive it. A cold chill spread across her skin. And the last circle? She asked. Adam hesitated. Your disappearance. The moment you leave this apartment, you need to vanish cleanly. No social media, no forwarding addresses, no loose ends he can track. Emily swallowed hard. I'll have to do it when he's gone. Yes, Adam said. And he always leaves between 7 and 7:20 a.m. on weekdays. You'll have a 13-minute window before the doorman's shift changes. The precision of the plan frightened her and grounded her. But Emily, Adam continued gently, before any of that, you need emotional support. Someone who understands the kind of man Brandon is. Someone who's been where you are. Emily frowned. Who? He closed the notepad and leaned back. Dr. Olivia Mercer. The name softened something inside her, like a light flickering in the dark. She's noticed, Adam said. She sees the signs, and she cares. More than you realize. Emily's throat tightened. If I tell her everything, there's no going back. Exactly, Adam replied. You'll stop surviving alone. Emily looked at her tiny son, his face relaxed, peaceful. She bent down and kissed his forehead. Then she straightened, eyes clearer than they had been in months. Set up the meeting with Evelyn, she said, and I'll talk to Olivia tonight. Adam nodded, relief mixing with admiration. Then your escape begins now. Emily waited outside Dr. Olivia Mercer's office, long after the halls of the hospital had emptied, the fluorescent lights humming softly above her. Her baby slept in the stroller beside her, his tiny breaths steady and warm. Emily touched his blanket as if grounding herself. Tonight mattered. Tonight would decide whether she sank further or climbed out. Come in, Olivia's voice called through the door. Emily stepped inside. Olivia sat behind her desk, still wearing her scrubs, hair pulled into a loose bun, glasses perched on the edge of her nose. Her expression softened as soon as she saw Emily. "You look like you haven't slept in weeks," Olivia said gently. "Sit, tell me what's going on." Emily sat. Her hands trembled. Her voice didn't come at first. She looked down at her son, then back at the woman who had mentored her through some of the hardest nights of her life. "Something's wrong," Emily whispered. Olivia nodded, not filling the silence with assumptions. "Start slowly." And Emily did. She told her about Brandon's late nights, about the birth he nearly missed, about the texts, the perfume, the coldness, about the legal document she'd been tricked into signing, about Sloane showing up at the hospital like a warning from the future. Every word was shaky, but once she started, she couldn't stop. Months of fear poured out of her like a dam bursting. When she finished, Olivia leaned back, exhaling deeply. "Emily, I know this story," she said softly. "Too well." Emily frowned. "What do you mean?" Olivia removed her glasses, revealing tired eyes. "Years ago, I was married to a man like Brandon. Charming, successful, calculating. He convinced the court I was unstable, took my daughter from me, and used the system to keep her. I've spent 20 years rebuilding my life from the ruins he left." Emily's breath caught. She had never known. Olivia continued, voice low and steady. "Women like us don't just get hurt, we get erased. Unless we fight back before the trap closes." Emily felt the weight of those words settle into her bones. "Adam Reeves told me you might understand," Emily whispered. A hint of a smile touched Olivia's lips. "Adam is good. He saved several women from situations like yours, and he's right, you need help from people who've survived the same war." Emily's eyes filled. "I'm scared." "It's Mancher." "Good," Olivia said softly. "Fear keeps you alert, but don't let it paralyze you. Let it guide you." She stood, walked to a cabinet, and pulled out a folder. Inside were forms, checklists, hotline numbers, shelter locations, encryption tools, and a step-by-step relocation guide. "I made this years ago," Olivia explained. "I never thought I'd give it to someone I care about this much." Emily swallowed. "So you think I should leave?" I think," Olivia said, placing a hand over Emily's, "that if you stay, Brandon will take your child, and he will break you to do it." Silence fell. Then Olivia added, her voice trembling with old wounds, "Don't let him do to you what was done to me." Emily closed her eyes. When she opened them, something had changed. Resolve. "Then help me leave," she said. Olivia nodded once. "I already am." "I thank you." Emily Carter had never realized how loud a zipper could sound until she tried to close one in the middle of the night, praying it wouldn't echo through the penthouse walls. Her baby slept in the bassinet beside her, tiny chest rising and falling, unaware that his life was being quietly packed into bags meant for escape. Olivia's folder lay open on the bed, highlighted checklists, relocation steps, emergency contacts. Emily reread them over and over, steadying her shaking hands. Step 1. Gather essentials. Step 2. Remove sentimental items discreetly. Step 3. Hide documents outside the home. Step 4. Leave no visible gaps. Simple on paper, terrifying in practice. She started with the baby's clothes, rolling each onesie tightly and tucking them behind her winter sweaters in the suitcase. She removed only a few at a time, never enough for Brandon to notice. Diapers she hid in her work tote. Formula cans she slipped into a grocery bag and placed behind the laundry detergents in the hallway closet until she could sneak them out one by one. Every movement felt like treason. At 2:14 a.m., she crept into the living room. The floor-to-ceiling windows cast faint silver light across the furniture. Brandon's laptop sat on the desk, closed now, its secrets locked away. His phone buzzed with a notification, Sloane's name glowing in the dark like a siren. Emily tightened her jaw. She went to the kitchen and retrieved documents she'd hidden earlier. Insurance forms, hospital discharge papers, birth certificate copies. She had photographed every page and uploaded them to the encrypted drive Adam helped her set up. The originals she sealed in a manila envelope and slid into the stroller's undercarriage. Her heart raced. A creak sounded down the hallway. Emily froze. Brandon's door. Footsteps. She snatched the stroller and slipped into the bathroom, closing the door silently. Her breath caught as Brandon walked past, his silhouette crossing the hallway, barefoot, shirtless, half asleep. "Emily?" he muttered groggily. "Where'd you go?" She clutched her son's stroller tight, praying he wouldn't wake and cry. Brandon wandered into the kitchen, opened a cabinet, and drank straight from a water bottle before stumbling back to bed, never noticing the thin line of light under the bathroom door. When his footsteps faded, Emily allowed her lungs to release the breath she'd been holding. Tears welled, not from fear but from clarity. She couldn't survive like this. Her son couldn't grow up like this. When she emerged, the penthouse looked the same as ever, but to Emily it felt like a stranger's home, cold, sharp-edged, hostile. She finished packing the last item, a small crocheted blanket her grandmother made, the only thing in the apartment that still felt like safety. At 4:07 a.m., she zipped the final compartment and whispered to her sleeping baby, "Just a little longer, sweetheart. We're almost free." Because the escape wasn't happening someday. It was happening soon. And nothing, absolutely nothing, would stop her. 3 days before Emily planned to disappear, a storm rolled over, Manhattan violent, sharp, rattling the windows of the penthouse like warning knocks from fate itself. Emily held her sleeping baby close, his tiny body warm against her chest, while thunder boomed in the distance. Tonight felt dangerous. Brandon had canceled a business trip last minute, claiming a client crisis. He was pacing the living room with a glass of whiskey in hand, restless, suspicious, unpredictable. Emily could sense the shift in him, the way he watched her from the corner of his eye, the way his questions grew sharper. "Where have you been going lately?" he asked suddenly, swirling the ice in his glass. Emily turned slowly, forcing calm into her voice. "Doctor appointments, you know that." He studied her. Too long. Too intensely. Then he stepped closer, brushing a piece of lint from her sweater with the kind of forced tenderness that made her skin crawl. "You seem distracted," he said. "Are you hiding something?" Her breath hitched. Every instinct screamed to run, but she lifted her chin. "I'm exhausted, Brandon. Nothing else." He smirked like he didn't believe her. When he finally walked to the bedroom, Emily sagged against the wall, inhaling shaky breaths. She rocked her baby gently until her heartbeat slowed. She needed time. She needed space. She needed him gone. But that night, something went wrong. At 11:23 p.m., while Emily quietly sorted medical documents into a diaper bag, Brandon's voice erupted from the bedroom. "Emily, get in here." Her heart slammed. She hurried in, pulse hammering. Brandon stood beside her half-open dresser drawer, holding a stack of folded baby clothes she had been slowly removing for the escape. "These weren't here yesterday," he said coldly. Emily froze. I'm organizing, nesting. The pediatrician said I should prepare." He tilted his head, examining her like prey. "Funny, because it looks like you're packing." The words sliced through the air. Emily's palms went cold, her body tensed. Think. You never help with the baby." "So yes, I reorganize things," she said, her voice trembling but defiant. "You wouldn't know where anything is anyway." The jab hit him like she hoped. His irritation flickered, overriding his suspicion, if only for a moment. Brandon tossed the clothes back into the drawer. "Just don't make a mess. I don't like chaos." "Chaos?" Emily wanted to laugh and cry at the same time. When Brandon stepped into the bathroom, Emily slipped back into the hallway and noticed something chilling. His briefcase lay open on the dining table. Inside, a folder labeled Custody Strategy. Her knees nearly buckled. He wasn't just thinking about taking her child, he was planning the legal attack already. And she'd almost been discovered tonight. Emily rushed to the stroller, gripping the handle with white knuckles. "We leave tomorrow," she whispered to her sleeping son. "Not next week, not later, tomorrow." Because staying even one more night under Brandon's roof was no longer survival. It was suicide. Emily didn't sleep the night before she escaped. She sat on the living room floor with her baby in her arms, watching the red digital clock blink from 4:12 a.m. to 4:13 a.m., as if counting down to her new life. Rain tapped against the windows, soft and rhythmic, masking the sound of her trembling breaths. Adam's voice echoed in her mind. "You'll have a 13-minute window, between 7 and 7:13. That's when Brandon leaves and before the doorman changes, shifts. 13 minutes, that's all you get." She had memorized the plan so thoroughly she could recite it in her sleep. At 5:02 a.m. she texted Adam one word. "Ready." He replied instantly, "Stay invisible. Call only if something goes wrong. Evelyn's driver will wait 1 block east. Black SUV, windows tinted." Emily kissed her son's forehead. "Today, sweetheart," she whispered. "Today we choose freedom." At 6:41 a.m., Brandon emerged from the bedroom, fastening his cufflinks, acting like the man whose life wasn't about to crumble. Emily played her part perfectly calm, tired, submissive. She handed him his travel mug of coffee without meeting his eyes. "Try not to fall apart today," he said casually, slipping into his coat. A flicker of rage burned in her chest, but she kept her face neutral. "Have a good day, Brandon." He paused, searching her expression for something. Suspicion, fear, guilt, anything. But Emily had learned. She showed him nothing. He grunted and walked out the door. The lock clicked. Silence fell. Emily counted to 10 slowly, methodically, before motion snapped back into her body. The next few minutes were a blur of precision. She grabbed the pre-packed diaper bag, slipped the manila envelope of documents into its inner pocket, lifted her sleeping baby from the bassinet, cradling him against her chest, pulled the stroller from the closet and draped a blanket loosely to hide his face. 6:59 a.m. Her breath hitched. This was it. She opened the apartment door, just a crack listening. The hallway was empty, except for the distant hum of the elevator descending. She stepped out, closing the door softly behind her, leaving the life she built and survived inside. Her legs felt both heavy and weightless as she pushed the stroller down the hall. Every sound echoed too loudly. Every shadow felt like a threat. In the lobby, the doorman looked up. "Mrs. Hale?" he said gently. "Heading out early?" Emily forced a smile. "Doctor appointment. Baby's checkup." He nodded and opened the door for her. 7:03 a.m. She was outside. The rain had lightened, misting the air with cool relief. She turned east, her heart pounding as she pushed the stroller through puddles, her shoes splashing silently across the concrete. 1 block. 2. Then she saw it, the black SUV, engine running, windows tinted exactly as Adam promised. Emily quickened her pace, tears blurring her vision. 7:11 a.m. 2 minutes left. The back door opened. A woman's voice whispered, steady and warm. "Emily, I'm Evelyn. You're safe now. Get in." Emily stepped inside. Leaving behind the cage Brandon built for her. Brandon Hale returned to the penthouse that evening, expecting the familiar routine. Emily exhausted, the baby crying, dinner half cold on the counter. He rehearsed the excuses he planned to give: late meetings, client emergencies, the usual lies he told so often they tasted normal now. But the second he stepped into the foyer, he sensed it. Silence. Not peaceful silence, vacant silence. The air felt lighter, as if someone had opened a window and let the life escape. "Emily?" he called, loosening his tie. No answer. He walked into the living room. The bassinet gone. The diaper bag gone. No toys on the rug. No blanket on the couch. A strange chill crawled up his spine. He checked the bedroom next. Emily's dresser drawers were shut, neat, almost too neat. He swung open the closet door. Her clothes were missing. Not all of them, only the ones she wore regularly. Just enough to disappear without making the absence obvious to an unobservant man. But Brandon noticed now. He felt something unfamiliar clawing at his chest. Panic. "Emily!" he shouted louder. Still nothing. He stormed back into the hallway, pulling out his phone. 12 calls made earlier, none answered. He dialed again. Straight to voicemail. He dialed the pediatrician. No, the baby hadn't been brought in today. He dialed Emily's sister, immediate block tone. He dialed the hospital, no record of Emily working today, no emergency check-in. Sweat gathered along his hairline. "This isn't funny," he muttered to the empty room. A glint on the kitchen counter caught his attention. A USB drive. Placed deliberately. Waiting. Beside it, a folded note. His hands shook as he opened it. "Brandon, you won't find us. My lawyer will contact you. Do not call again. Emily." His vision blurred with rage. "What lawyer? What the hell is she talking about?" He snatched the USB and shoved it into his laptop. The screen lit up with folders, photos, screenshots, voice recordings, evidence, piles of it. Every lie he thought he buried. Every legal document he manipulated, every message he sent to Sloane. "She went through my files," Brandon roared, slamming his fist against the table. Then he saw the worst one. A scanned document labeled Custody Strategy, Preliminary Draft. The same folder he thought he had hidden in his briefcase. His face drained of color. "She knew," he whispered. "All of it." His pulse hammered. He stumbled to the window, staring down at the city. Emily couldn't have disappeared, not without help. Someone must have orchestrated it, someone with resources. His jaw clenched. "Adam Reeves," he hissed. "That bastard. Thanks for watching. If you ever was, if you what of the signif." But it wasn't just fear twisting in Brandon's gut. It was realization. He hadn't been the predator in this story. He had been outplayed. And the game had only begun. Because now he wasn't just losing his wife. He was losing control. The black SUV carried Emily out of Manhattan before the sun fully rose, leaving behind the skyline that had witnessed both her happiest hopes and her quietest heartbreaks. She sat in the back seat beside her baby, holding him close, while Evelyn Monroe watched her with calm, assessing eyes. "You did the hardest part," Evelyn said softly. "Leaving is always the hardest part." Emily nodded, though her heart was still thundering. She kept expecting the SUV door to be ripped open, for Brandon's voice to explode in fury, for everything to collapse. But the city grew smaller in the rearview mirror, and the world ahead widened. Hours later, they reached a safe house tucked into the green, rainy outskirts of a small town in Oregon. The house was modest, warm, and smelled faintly of cedar. Emily stepped inside and felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Breathing room. The first night there, she barely slept. Not from fear, but from relief. Evelyn gave her a prepaid phone, a temporary ID under her maiden name, and a small envelope of emergency cash. "This is standard procedure," she said. "Paper trails are dangerous. Phones are dangerous. Even search history is dangerous. For now, you disappear." Emily studied the envelope, overwhelmed. "Why are you helping me this much? You don't even know me." Evelyn's expression softened. "I know your husband's type. I've spent my life taking men like him out of positions where they can hurt people. And women like you remind me of my daughter." Emily blinked. "Your daughter?" Evelyn hesitated, a shadow flickering behind her eyes. She didn't make it out in time. Silence fell like a stone. Emily touched the top of her baby's soft head. "I'm so sorry." Evelyn nodded, steadying herself. "So, when I can help someone escape, I do. And when I can help them rebuild, I do that too." Over the next week, Emily learned how to live unseen. She used her temporary name, Emily Carter Monroe, in all local interactions. She walked her baby in quiet forest trails instead of crowded streets. She memorized emergency exits. She left her credit cards untouched. Every night, she emailed Adam through an encrypted portal, sending updates. In return, Adam sent progress reports. A temporary restraining order was filed. A custody petition was in motion. Evidence was secure. Brandon was already spiraling. Emily read every message twice. One afternoon, while rocking her baby by the window, Emily whispered, "We're safe now, sweetheart." But as the words left her lips, she realized something. Safety wasn't the end of the story. Safety was only the beginning. She needed purpose, a future, a way to stand on her own. And that's when Evelyn approached her with a folder. Inside were job postings at a medical AI startup expanding to Oregon, remote-friendly, flexible schedules, nursing expertise preferred. "I think," Evelyn said, "you're ready for more than survival." Emily felt her heartbeat quicken. For the first time in months, she allowed herself to imagine a life not built in fear, but in possibility. The first time Emily Carter walked into the small medical AI office in Oregon, she felt like an imposter. The building was tucked between a coffee shop and a quiet bookstore, nothing like the towering hospital halls she once rushed through in Manhattan. Her baby was in a carrier pressed against her chest, warm and calm, unaware that his mother was about to begin again. Evelyn walked beside her, projecting confidence like a shield. "You're not here as a charity case," she reminded Emily. "You're here because you're smart, capable, and because your experience can save this company years of mistakes." Emily nodded, though doubt fluttered in her chest. Inside the office, soft, natural light filled the room. A small team of engineers typed quietly, surrounded by whiteboards covered in patient flow diagrams. One of them, a young woman with bright eyes, looked up. "You must be Emily," she said warmly. "Evelyn told us you used to work ER. That's intense." Emily smiled shyly. "It was. But it teaches you how to think fast." "That's exactly what we need," another engineer chimed in. "We're building triage prediction models. We need someone who understands real patients, not just data." The words hit her unexpectedly hard. Someone wanted her input. Someone valued her mind. Someone believed she had something to offer. It felt foreign, but good. Over the next few days, Emily took on a consulting role part-time, flexible hours. She joined team meetings, offering feedback on patient prompts, helping identify gaps that only someone with real hospital experience could catch. The engineers listened, really listened, writing down every suggestion she made. For the first time in a long while, Emily wasn't surviving. She was contributing. At night, after feeding her son, she worked quietly at a small desk in the safe house, typing notes, reviewing case studies, sketching triage flowcharts. The glow of the laptop screen illuminated her face, not with exhaustion, but with purpose. One evening, Evelyn stopped by with takeout. "You look different," she observed. Emily blinked. "Different how?" "Like someone who remembers she has a future." Emily looked down at her baby, sleeping peacefully in the bassinet. "I want to build something for him. Something stable, something I control." Evelyn smiled. "And you will." Later that week, Adam called through the encrypted line. Emily answered, nerves twisting. "Emily," he said, "Brandon filed an emergency custody petition." Her stomach dropped. "Already?" "Yes, but it won't go his way. The judge denied it immediately, lack of evidence, and his behavior raised red flags. Your documentation helped. A lot." Emily almost collapsed in relief. "Thank you, Adam." "There's more," he added. "He's panicking. He's hired private investigators. But don't worry, they're nowhere near you." Emily's pulse steadied. She wasn't powerless. She wasn't cornered. She wasn't alone. After the call, she stepped outside into the cool Oregon evening. Pine trees whispered overhead. The world felt bigger than the pain she fled. She held her baby close and whispered, "We're going to be okay, I promise." For the first time, the words felt true. 3 years passed, like a quiet transformation Emily Carter never could have imagined back in Manhattan. Oregon's misty mornings became her new rhythm. The medical AI startup became her second home. With Evelyn's mentorship and the team's support, Emily rose from consultant to project lead, then to director of clinical integration, a role she shaped with her own hands. And her son, now a bright, curious toddler with gentle eyes, grew up surrounded by warmth instead of fear. Emily had built a new life. A life without Brandon. A life she controlled. But the world had a way of circling back. In early spring, Evelyn approached her with a calm smile that meant something big was coming. "You're ready," she said, placing a conference badge on the table. "We're sending you to represent the company at the National Healthcare Innovation Summit." Emily picked up the badge, reading the location printed boldly across the top. The Plaza Hotel, New York City. Her breath caught. Returning to Manhattan wasn't just a trip, it was a test. A confrontation. A chance to stand on ground where she had once fled for her life. Evelyn squeezed her shoulder. "Your past no longer owns you. Go show the world who you've become." 2 weeks later, Emily stepped out of a black car in front of the plaza. The same iconic white facade, the same spinning doors. But this time, she walked in not as a trembling wife, but as a leader with a purpose. Inside, the ballroom glittered with chandeliers and polished marble. Doctors, investors, CEOs, hundreds of them. Yet conversations paused for a moment as Emily passed. There was something commanding about her presence now. Her tailored suit, her steady posture, the quiet confidence shaped not from privilege but from survival. While pinning her badge to her lapel, Emily caught her reflection in a gilded mirror. She barely recognized the woman staring back, and neither would Brandon. Adam had warned her he might be here, his company was on the sponsor list, but she didn't flinch. She wasn't hiding anymore. During her keynote session, Emily spoke about predictive triage and the future of patient-centered AI. Her voice was steady, her explanations clear. The audience was transfixed. They weren't seeing a former ER nurse who once cried in hospital bathrooms. They were seeing a visionary. After the applause faded, a familiar voice cut through the crowd. "Emily." She froze. Brandon Hale stood a few feet away, thinner, darker circles under his eyes, suit slightly wrinkled. His confidence was gone, replaced by something like disbelief. "It's really you," he breathed. "You look different." Emily turned fully, her expression neutral, powerful. "I am different." He swallowed hard. "I've been looking for you for years. Emily, please, we need to talk." She paused, letting silence stretch, letting consequence settle on him like weight. Then she said quietly, "The only conversation we'll have is in court." Brandon's face paled. Because for the first time, Emily wasn't the one afraid. The courtroom was bright, too bright, almost blinding. Sunlight streamed through tall windows, illuminating every polished surface, every murmured breath, every trembling truth that could no longer be hidden. Emily Carter sat beside Adam Reeves, her back straight, her eyes calm. She wore a soft charcoal suit, hair pinned neatly, hands resting gently on her lap. This was not the woman Brandon Hale once tried to break. This was the woman he created by underestimating her. Brandon entered with a swagger he couldn't quite maintain. His jaw was tight, his suit slightly rumpled, his eyes flickering between fear and outrage. He expected Emily to look fragile, thin, overwhelmed, unstable. Instead, she radiated control. It unsettled him so deeply that his steps faltered. The judge called the session to order. Adam stood first, presenting a meticulously organized case, evidence of emotional neglect, digital trails of Brandon's affair, screenshots of coercive financial documents, proof of a premeditated custody grab, testimony from Dr. Olivia Mercer, expert analysis from a psychologist verifying Emily's postpartum struggles and Brandon's manipulation. Each piece hit like a hammer. Brandon's attorney objected again and again, but the judge overruled almost every attempt. Facts were hard to argue with, especially when the USB Emily left behind was full of Brandon's own incriminating words. When it was Brandon's turn to speak, he tried to regain control. "She left without warning," he said through clenched teeth. "She kidnapped my son." But the judge's gaze sharpened. "Mr. Hale, the evidence clearly shows you created an unsafe environment, Mrs. Carter's decision to leave was protective, not malicious." Brandon's face reddened. He glanced at Emily, desperate, imploring, furious. "You ruined my life," he hissed under his breath. Emily didn't react. She didn't need to. His ruin was self-made. When the judge returned from recess, silence thickened the air. "For custody," the judge began. "The court grants full physical and legal custody of the child to Mrs. Emily Carter." Brandon stumbled back into his chair, stunned. The judge continued. "Additionally, due to Mr. Hale's coercive financial conduct, the court orders substantial restitution, including back support, attorney fees, and long-term supervised visitation." Gasps rippled through the room. Emily's hands trembled not from fear, but from release, from justice, from weight she no longer had to carry. Brandon lunged halfway to his feet, voice cracking. "Emily, please, I can change. I was stressed." But Emily finally looked at him, truly looked, with steady, unflinching clarity. "You already showed me who you are," she said softly, "and I believed you." Security escorted Brandon out as he called her name, but it no longer mattered. His voice had no power here, no power over her, no power over their child. When the doors shut behind him, Adam turned to her, eyes warm. "It's over," he whispered. Emily exhaled deeply, a breath years overdue. Outside, sunlight washed over her as she lifted her son into her arms. Evelyn waited by the steps, smiling proudly. For the first time, the future didn't feel like something she had to escape to. It felt like something she had earned. Emily looked ahead, heart steady, voice full. "We're free now," she whispered to her son, "and we're not looking back. All right, my wonderful friends. So the story has finally come to an end. And if you are still here, still listening, still feeling every moment with us, then something in this journey must have touched your heart in a way only real life can." Emily's story carries a truth many of us forget. Strength isn't loud, survival isn't glamorous, and healing isn't instant. But like the Stoic Marcus Aurelius once wrote, The impediment to action becomes the action. The things meant to break us often become the very things that build us. We watched a woman walk through betrayal, fear, loneliness, and start again from nothing. And that's the lesson we can take into our own lives. You are allowed to leave what hurts you. You are allowed to rebuild. You are allowed to choose yourself. Even when the world tells you you're too weak, too tired, too late, remember, Emily, and remember this principle from Epictetus. No great thing is created suddenly. Healing takes time, courage grows slowly, but it grows. So if you're still here, maybe part of you is ready to rise too. And hey, if this story moved you even a little, give it a like, share it with someone who might need the reminder, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We've got more stories, more lessons, and more healing waiting for you. You're not alone, and your new beginning can start anytime you choose.